Okay, see here. So in the previous classes, in the previous two classes, very clearly we discussed some features of Java. Okay, so once again, I'm giving overview on the finished features. After that, I will explain the continuation part features of Java. So what are the features of Java? What is the first feature here? The first feature is it is the platform independent programming language. Java is the platform independent programming language. C, C++ are the platform dependent programming languages. This is Java, Python, C Sharp. These are the platform independent programming languages. C, C++ are the platform dependent programming languages. Java, Python, C Sharp are the platform independent programming languages. So in C or C++, after compilation, that will create the exe file. Whereas in case of Java or Python, after compilation, that will generate intermediate code file. So because of this intermediate code, this Java became platform independent. Because this intermediate code, this byte code will not be run by the operating system. This byte code will run by the JVM. Okay, whereas this machine code will run by the operating system. So every operating system has its own language. So one operating system's language cannot be understood by another operating system. So that's why C, C++ are the platform dependent. There after compilation exe file will be created. Whereas in the Java after compilation bytecode will be created. So because of this bytecode only Java became platform independent. So just simply we place this bytecode file and we can run in another system. Who is responsible to run this bytecode? JVM. So we install one special software JVM. JVM runs this one, not operating system. If operating system runs, that will become platform dependent. Okay, remember one point, operating system runs this JVM. So this JVM is the operating system dependent, JVM is the platform dependent, but Java application is the platform independent. And next second feature is what? It is a machine independent programming language. Means this Java programs we can run on any machine, we can run on many devices, not only a computer, we can run on smartphone. Okay, we can run on other devices like a router, okay, set-top boxes, Blu-ray DVD players, switches, okay, in the smart cards, in ATM cards, in the remote controls. So like this, in several devices, we can use these Java applications. Okay, then this whereas C, C++ are the machine dependent programming languages. So the software developed in C, C++ can run on computer only. You cannot run on many devices. Whereas this Java application, you can run on many devices. So that is the advantage here. Okay, so that's why Java is the machine independent. So because of these reasons, Java became very famous. And another feature is pure object oriented programming language. So first they introduced the object oriented programming concepts in the 1950s. Based on those object oriented programming concepts, they developed object oriented programming languages like C++, Java, Python. Okay, so as per object oriented programming standards, each and every member should be inside of the class. As per object oriented programming standards, each and every member should be defined inside of the class. But in the C++, we define main method outside of the class. So we define all members inside of the class, but main method we define outside of the class. And here outside of the class, if we want to declare the variables, we can declare the variables also. These are called global variables. So int z equals to 100, like this we can declare. So this is called global variable. Outside of the class I can declare. Outside of the class I can define function like this. Okay, and outside of the class I am defining main. So we can define the members outside of the class also. So it is against to the object oriented programming rules. As per object oriented programming rules, each and every member should be defined inside of the class. Okay. Yes, listen. See here. So anyone please confirm, am I audible? Are you getting my voice and screen? Please confirm.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir,
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay. So see, so as per object oriented programming standards, each and every member should be defined inside of the class. But in the C++, we can define some members outside of the class. So that's why C++ is not pure object oriented. Whereas in the Java, we define each and every member inside of the class. Okay, including the main method also we define inside of the class. In the C++, we define main method outside of the class. In Java, we define main method inside of the class. So each and every member we define inside of the class. That's why Java is the pure object oriented programming language. So this Java is pure object oriented programming language. Okay, and another feature is it is compiled and interpreted programming language. So initially when Java was introduced in the 1996, at that time Java was interpreted programming language. So if it is only interpreted programming language, so performance will be low here. So to improve the performance, they added JIT compiler to the JVM. In the JVM, execution engine is there. In the JVM, execution engine is there. This execution engine means execution engine has interpreter. Execution engine has interpreter. Initially, only interpreter was there. JVM has execution engine that runs the Java application. This execution engine runs the Java application. This is the part of JVM. So initially, Java has only interpreter. Initially, Java had only interpreter. So if only it is interpreted programming language, performance will be low. So to improve the performance, what they did is they added another compiler, that is JIT compiler. They added in the Java 3 version. In the Java 1.3 version, they added JIT compiler. So this JIT compiler added to the JVM. Now JVM execution engine has from 1.3, from Java 1.3 version onwards, this Java is the both compiled and interpreted programming language because it has a JIT compiler and it has interpreter. So in the program, after compilation, that is generating what? Bytecode. Okay, so that bytecode will be executed by the JVM. So in that bytecode, some statements get executed faster by the interpreter. Some statements get executed faster by the JIT compiler. Okay, so internally that distributes the code. So interpreter takes some code, JIT compiler takes some code. Okay, both simultaneously do the translation. They translate bytecode to the machine code. So automatically performance will be improved here. If only interpreter is there, performance will be low. So to improve the performance, they added JIT compiler. They added JIT compiler, but they didn't remove interpreter because for some statements, interpreter gets executed faster. If single statements are there, interpreter works fast. In case of loops or in case of recursion, this JIT compiler works fast. So that's why both are there. This Java is both compiled and interpreted programming language. And next one is robust programming language. Okay, so robust programming language. So till here we discussed in the previous class, and also I have given introduction on robust. Okay, now I'm continuing the session from this robust programming language. So today I will finish these features of Java. Listen. So next feature is Java is the robust programming language. Listen. So this Java is the robust programming language. I'm calling Java as the robust programming language. So robust means strong. Robust means strong. I'm calling Java as the robust programming language. So because of two reasons, we are calling this Java as the robust programming language. Yesterday I explained one reason. So because of exception handling reason, this Java is called robust programming language. And because of memory management also, because of memory management also, this Java is called a strong programming language. So due to these two reasons, because of exception handling and because of memory management, this Java is called robust programming language. So robust means strong. We are calling Java as a strong programming language. So now I want to explain very clearly about these 2 points. Listen carefully. See, there are 2 types of errors. One is compile time errors, another one is runtime errors. For example, I'm writing a statement like this. Int x equals to 50. Okay, after that I'm writing y equal to 90. Okay, now this is one statement I'm writing. So after that I'm writing one Java statement, system.out.println hello. System.out.println hello. I'm writing like this. Now, are there any errors in these 2 statements? Are there any errors in these 2 statements? Yes, errors are there. What are those? Those errors are, see, this x equals to 50. Yes, bracket is missing. Okay, like that some errors are there. Okay, here after x equals to 50, comma is required. X is one variable, y is another variable. For variable separation, comma is required. And each and every statement should be ended with semicolon. That semicolon missed. 2 mistakes. And another mistake is here double quote is started and double quote is not ended. Another mistake. Third mistake. Here parenthesis is started, but parenthesis is not ended. Okay, parenthesis is not terminated. This is another mistake. So all these mistakes, so like comma mistake, parenthesis mistake, double quote mistake, semicolon mistake, curly braces mistake, such type of errors are called syntax errors or compile time errors. So these errors are called compile time errors. Okay, if comma is missing, compiler will give error to us. In a C++ also compiler is there. If double quote is missing, that is giving error to us. If parenthesis is missing, that is giving error to us. If semicolon is missing, that is giving error to us. So if any syntax mistakes are there, okay, if any syntax mistakes are there, that is giving the errors. So these errors, compile time errors, occur due to syntax mistakes. Due to syntax mistakes. If any syntax mistakes are there, these errors will occur. So these can be checked by the compiler, no problem at all. So we can correct them. Compiler displays those errors, we can understand them and we can correct them. So no problem is there with compile time errors. But another type of errors are there. So there are 2 types of errors. How many types of errors are there? 2 types of errors are there. What are those? Compile time errors and runtime errors. Runtime errors are also there. These runtime errors are very, very dangerous. These runtime errors are very, very dangerous. See, so when runtime error occurs, our application will be terminated in the middle of execution. For example, here one Java program is there. I'm writing one Java program like this. So this first statement, this is second statement, this is third statement, like this some statements are there. So here I'm writing x value as 10 and y value as 0. Okay, x value is 10 and y value is 0. These are integer variables. I want to print x by y value. I want to store that value in the z. So z equals to x by y. So I'm writing this code at 50th line. So this is 50th line. So like this, total 100 lines code is there. Like this, total 100 lines code is there. 100 lines code. So how many lines code is there? 100 lines code. So whenever that is executing the program at 50th line, we are calculating x by y. X by y means what is the x value? 10. What is the y value? 0. So now that has to calculate 10 by 0. Something divided by 0 cannot be calculated by the computer. Something divided by 0 cannot be calculated by the computer. So now runtime error will occur at 50th line. So at 50th line, so at this line, now runtime error will occur. Runtime error. So when runtime error occurs, it will not execute this remaining 50 lines code. Our application will be closed in the middle of execution. That is the problem here. So user will feel inconvenient. User may feel inconvenient because our application is terminating when the runtime error is occurring. So definitely user feels inconvenient. So that's why we have to handle such type of runtime errors. So when runtime error occurs, it will not execute the remaining code, and our application will be closed in the middle of execution. So here two problems are there with runtime errors. Our application will be closed in the middle of execution when runtime error occurs, and it will not execute the remaining code. It will not execute the remaining code, and application will be closed in the middle of execution. Two problems are there. So this is inconvenient to the user. We must handle the runtime errors. The mechanism of handling runtime errors is called exception handling. The mechanism of handling runtime errors. The mechanism of handling runtime errors is called exception handling. So we must handle the runtime errors, because when runtime error occurs, user cannot continue his work. That will not execute the remaining code. So abnormal termination will occur. So to solve this problem, this Java is introducing exception handling concept. That is providing several classes. So Java provides several classes. Java is providing several classes to handle exceptions, to handle runtime errors. Exception means runtime error. So to handle runtime errors, it is providing several classes to us, like arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception, null pointer exception, class not found exception. Like this Java is providing several exception classes to us. So because of this reason, it can handle runtime errors also. Because of this reason, I'm calling this Java as the robust programming language. So to understand more clearly about exception handling, I will give one simple example to you. For example, you have one smartphone. For example, you have one smartphone. This is your smartphone. Assume that this is your smartphone. This smartphone has 32 GB internal memory. 32 GB internal memory is there. 32 GB internal memory is there. Okay, so no external memory is there. No memory card, no supporting cards are there. Only 32 GB internal memory is there. This is your smartphone. Okay, so now that 32 GB memory completely used, you filled with some songs, audios, you filled with some movies, some video songs, okay, some documents. So you filled the 32 GB completely. You used this 32 GB completely. Now you are trying to take selfie. Now, for example, assume that you are trying to take selfie. Now, is that selfie will be stored? Is that selfie will be stored in the mobile? No, because 32 GB memory already full. Once again, I'm repeating the example. Okay, see, listen. So this is your smartphone. In a smartphone, 32 GB internal memory is there. That 32 GB internal memory completely used. That is completely filled with some audios, some movies, okay, some video songs, and some important documents. So you used 32 GB memory completely. And now, if you want to take the selfie, if you take the selfie, that will display one message to you: memory is full. That image will not be stored. Your photo will not be stored because memory is not there. So this problem occurred at runtime. Now you are using the camera app. You are using camera application. That camera application giving message to you, that is checking memory is available or not at runtime. You are using now. So at runtime, that is checking memory is available or not. If memory is not available, that is displaying message to you, that is memory is full. Okay. So if that is not displaying memory is full, user will not understand what is the problem here. So for example, if exception handling concept is not there, what happens? This 32 GB memory you filled. Now assume that they didn't handle the exception. So they didn't handle the runtime error. So what happens? So here 32 GB memory is filled. So if you take the selfie, your camera app will be closed in the middle of execution. That will not execute the remaining code. Now you feel inconvenient. So again you try to take the selfie. Again you open the camera app. Again, you try to take the selfie, so no sufficient memory is there. So automatically again camera app will be closed. You will not understand what's the problem. Why camera app is closing? You will not understand if developers didn't handle this runtime error. Okay, I hope you understood. Very clearly we discussed. Okay, so if this exception is not, if this runtime error is not handled, you will not get the message and you will not understand the problem. Okay, so if this exception is handled, when you take the selfie, that is displaying the message clearly, memory is full, that is checking memory is available or not, and that is displaying message to you, memory is full. So here they handle the exception, they handle the runtime error, memory is sufficient or not, they are checking. If memory is full, that is displaying message as memory is full. Okay, now you understand. Now what you do, you remove some unwanted images or unwanted documents, then you take the selfie, then your image will be saved and you are continuing your work. So hence we can handle the runtime errors. So this is best example for the runtime error. So just now, see here. So now I'm taking the class. Just now my network is disconnected. So now I'm taking online class. So this is runtime. Now I'm taking the session. Just now my network is disconnected and this go to training app displayed message to me. This go to training app displayed message to me, your network disconnected. Okay, so at runtime this problem is occurred. If that is not showing that message to me, I continue my session, but no one will hear. No one can see my screen and no one can hear me. But I continue my session if that is not displaying message to me. So whenever network is disconnecting, this go to training is displaying message to me. This app, so this is runtime problem. So if network is disconnected, I cannot communicate with you. So automatically my application is displaying message to me, network disconnected. So with that, I understand, oh, network is disconnected. So I re-establish the network. Okay, then again I can communicate with you. So if that message is not displayed to me, so automatically I feel that is inconvenience to me. It is very biggest problem to me. My students may not hear, my students may not see my screen. So to handle such type of runtime errors, this Java is providing exception handling. Okay, so this is the biggest advantage of the C++. So runtime errors are very, very dangerous. If runtime error occurs, our application will be closed in the middle of execution. User cannot continue his remaining work. So to handle this, okay, this Java is providing exception handling mechanism. Java is providing several classes. So this mechanism is called exception handling. So next one is what? Memory management. Next feature is what? Memory management. Then what is memory management? See, in C or C++, as a programmer, we are responsible to allocate the memory and deallocate the memory. In C or C++, dynamic memory allocation concept is there. In C language, we use the functions like malloc function, realloc function, calloc function, free function. So malloc function is used to allocate the memory at runtime. Free function is used to destroy the memory at runtime. In the C++, C++ is providing two operators to us. One is new operator and another one is delete operator. So this new operator allocates the memory and delete operator destroys the memory. So as a programmer, we are responsible to allocate the memory and destroy the memory in the C or C++. Whereas in Java, one feature came, that is automatic memory management. In Java, automatic management feature came. In Java, automatic memory management will be there. Automatic memory management will be there in the Java. Okay. So in C, C++, we are responsible to allocate the memory and deallocate the memory. So to allocate the memory, we are using malloc. So that memory will not be automatically destroyed. We have to destroy the memory by using free method, free function. In C++ also, if we are allocating the memory by using new, we must destroy the memory by using delete. So as a programmer, we are responsible to allocate the memory and deallocate the memory in C or C++. Whereas in case of Java, automatic memory management is there. So who allocates the memory? I already told. Who runs the Java application? JVM. Remember this point. JVM is responsible. JVM is responsible to run Java application. JVM is responsible to run Java application. So JVM has class loader. JVM has class loader. JVM has class loader. This class loader allocates the memory. Allocates the memory. That is not the responsibility of programmer. So this class loader allocates the memory. And if any unwanted objects are there, okay, though this JVM has garbage collector. That garbage collector removes the unwanted objects. So it deallocates the memory. It destroys the memory. Okay. So automatic memory management is there in the Java. So class loader allocates the memory and garbage collector destroys the memory. So when unwanted objects are there, then automatically that memory will be destroyed by the garbage collector. So this is memory management in the Java. So because of this automatic memory management and because of this exception handling, we are calling Java as the robust programming language. Okay. The next feature is it is the simple and
Sir, excuse me.
Yes.
Sir, here garbage collector means a recycle bin, sir.
No. Actually, garbage collector means what it do is, what is the duty of it is that removes unwanted objects. For example, see here. For example, I'm creating one student class object. Just try to understand. I'm not explaining the program. Just I'm giving overview to you. This is, for example, I'm creating student class object. Student class already created. For that, I'm creating the object like this. So here object will be created, roll number, name, like this object will be created. This object's address will be given to the S1. So this is the object. This object's address is in the S1. Now S1 is pointing to this memory location. For example, I am writing this statement S1 equals to null. So now this reference will be gone. Now S1 has null address. S1 has no address. Means this object is not accessing by any reference variable. So this is unwanted object. So for example, I'm running another program. Now memory is not sufficient there. I'm running another program. Now memory is not sufficient. At that time, garbage collector automatically destroys this memory because this memory has no reference with any object.
Okay.
So this is the duty of garbage collector. Okay, garbage collector removes unwanted objects.
Sir, but how the system know whether it is unwanted or wanted? How the JVM will know?
Because of the references, because of the addresses. If address is not there,
Okay.
then that is unwanted object. Okay, because of these addresses only. If S1 is null means what? Empty, no address. So this is unwanted object. If address is there, if S1 has something value 1023 like this, something value is there, means that that S1 is pointing to that object. So that will not destroy. Okay, unwanted objects
okay,
only it will destroy. Okay, and whenever program is terminated, automatically all the objects will be removed. But at the time of program execution, if there is insufficient memory in the RAM, then garbage collector searches for are there any unwanted objects are there. So if any unwanted objects are there, that will clear it. Okay, this
Yeah,
system of
sir, I got clarity that there will be file, but inside there will be no application.
No.
Like this.
This is not. No. This is not file concept. This is the memory concept. Memory data.
Okay, sir.
Data, not file.
Like example.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. See, for example, let me explain. Let me explain more clearly. For example, in your room, you are in your personal room. In your personal room, one table is there. One table is there. Okay, you are not using the table for so many days. For example, one table is there in your
Okay.
room. For example, one table is there in your room. From so many days, you are not using that one. So
Okay,
what
sir.
you did is, for example, assume that you purchased another furniture. Okay, but to place that new furniture, there is no place in your room. Okay, then what you do?
No. Okay.
So from so many days, you are not using table, right? So that table you put outside, and at the place of
Yes, sir.
table, you put the new furniture. Did you get my point?
Yeah, okay, sir.
Yes.
Okay, sir. I got.
Similarly, here also same. If any unwanted objects are there in the memory, if any unwanted objects are there, they will be automatically removed by the garbage collector. Okay, so that is the concept. Automatic
Okay, sir.
memory management is there. Automatic memory management. So such type of facility is not there in the C++. Okay, I will give one simple example to you. For example, you write one C program, you run that C program for 500 times, or you write one C++ program, you run that C++ program for 500 times. So what happens is that RAM memory will become full. RAM memory become full. So if you don't destroy the memory, if you don't use delete operator, so that memory will become full. So when you are running that C++ program at 501th time, your program will be struck. Your program will be struck because no memory is there. Okay, so automatic memory management
Okay,
is not there in the C++. Whereas in case of Java, if you run the Java program for 500 times, if there is no sufficient memory, now garbage collector will become active. That removes the unwanted objects, and that place in such in that memory location that stores the new objects. That is the automatic memory management concept. Okay,
okay, sir.
now so because of this automatic memory management concept, and because of this exception handling concept, this Java we are calling as a robust programming language. It is a strong programming language. So very great features these are. Next, I'm calling this Java as the simple and familiar programming language. I'm calling this Java as the simple and familiar programming language. See, simple and familiar programming language. So we are calling this Java as the simple programming language because Java soft people. So Java soft people means the developers. So it is the Java software development team. So Java soft people removed, they didn't add. So Java soft people didn't add several unnecessary concepts, didn't add several unnecessary features, didn't add several unnecessary features to Java. Several unnecessary features, problem oriented features, or confusion oriented features they didn't add. For example, see here in the C++, pointers concept is there. Pointers concept is there, but Java does not support to the pointers. Okay, Java does not support pointers because this pointers concept is very dangerous. This is confusion oriented topic, so programmer feels difficult to write use of pointers. So pointers to pointers concept is there. Okay, pointer to pointer, pointer to pointer, pointer to pointer. Okay, in such type of situations programmer may get confused. So learning pointers is difficult to the learner, and for the programmer also, for the developer also, developing programs by using pointers, he may feel little bit difficult. Okay, and another major problem with the pointers is security problems will occur due to the pointers. Okay, so see, in the pointer arithmetic concept is there. In the pointer arithmetic concept is there. Pointer arithmetic means using operators on pointers. So due to this pointer arithmetic, what we can do is, for example, one bank is maintaining customer account details like this. So here they are maintaining customer account number, customer name, okay, customer balance, like this they are maintaining. So customer account number is 1234, his name is Ravi, his account has 1 lakh balance. So like this bank is maintaining. For example, I know the address of account number. If I know the address of account number, by using the pointer arithmetic, I can access the next elements. In the C++ already you learned pointer arithmetic. So if you know the address of this account number, you can access this name and you can access this balance. So automatically this balance is very sensitive data. Sometimes pin numbers may be there, sometimes passwords may be there, sometimes salaries may be there. Okay, so this such type of sensitive data may be there. This sensitive data can be accessed by others with the help of pointer arithmetic. So this is one security problem oriented concept. So they removed it. They removed it. Okay, and another confusion oriented concept, like multiple inheritance is there. Multiple inheritance. So due to this multiple inheritance, naming ambiguity problem will occur. And like that, friend functions, friend classes concepts are there. Okay, operator overloading concept is there. So to the same operator, many behaviors will be there. Okay, for example, if I write 10 plus 20, that is performing 30. If I give this value as Raj, this as Kumar, okay, that performs concatenation Raj Kumar. So same operator plus operator here, that is acting as that is performing addition. Here same operator is performing concatenation. Like that, I want to add two time values. I want to add two time values like 10 hour 50 minutes, 10 hour 50 minutes plus 12 hours 30 minutes, 12 hours 30 minutes. Okay, so generally if you calculate it, that is giving result as 22.8. This is the normal calculation. This is the normal calculation. Okay, so 10.50 plus 12.30. So what is the value of it? 22.8. 22.80. Okay, so 0 has no value, no meaning. So 22.8. So or you can say 22.80. But assume that this is 10 hours 50 minutes, 10 hours 50 minutes plus 12 hours 30 minutes. In such type of situations, if that is giving result as 22 hours 80 minutes, means this is little bit meaningless. See here, so it is meaningless. Okay, why it is meaningless? Because 60 hours 60 minutes equals to 1 hour. 60 minutes equals to 1 hour. So add 60 minutes to the hours part. So that will become what? 23 hours now. 23 hours. So 60 minutes you minus it from the minutes. Means remaining how many minutes are there? 20 minutes. So 23 hours 50 minutes is the correct answer. Okay, so here I want to use operator. So this is existing meaning. We are giving new meaning. This is called operator overloading. So if you use plus operator, if you overload the operator, sometimes if it may act like this or it may act like this. So this some confusion oriented, that may call this one or that may call this one. So some confusions will be raised for the programmer or for the learner. So such type of confusion oriented topics like operator overloading, multiple inheritance, pointers, friend functions, friend classes, they removed. They didn't add. Yes.
Sir, this is also called as diamond access problem.
Yes, yeah, very good, very good. Multiple inheritance is the diamond access problem. Yes, very good. Okay, yes, Curtis. Good. See,
Can you explain little bit?
I will explain. I will explain. Okay, in the middle of the session, I will explain. Okay. So see here. So we are calling this Java as the simple and familiar. We are calling this Java as the simple and familiar because they removed, they didn't add unnecessary concepts, confusion oriented concepts, difficult concepts like pointers, multiple inheritance, operator overloading, friend functions, friend classes. So all these are problem oriented concepts that didn't add. So we have no need to learn all those confusion oriented topics. So automatically language becomes simple. Okay, so just now I explained about operator overloading. Same operator has multiple behaviors. Just now I explained about pointer arithmetic. Pointer arithmetic. Okay, so pointer arithmetic means uh, using operators on pointers. If you use operators on pointers, security problems will occur. So now Curtis is asking about multiple inheritance. So due to this multiple inheritance, what's the problem here is, okay, so actually you have to know inheritance, but I'm trying to explain. Try to understand. Even if you don't understand, no problem at all. Multiple inheritance means if a class has many parent classes, this is class 1, this is class 2, and this is another class. So this is class A. Assume that this is class B. Assume that this is class C. Okay, now class C is the child class of A and class C is the child class of B. So now this one class has many parent classes, that is called multiple inheritance. In the multiple inheritance, one problem is there. For example, here one method is there, void M1 method defined in the class A. In the class B also same void M1 method is defined. So in the inheritance concept, when we call this method, so C obj, I'm creating the object for the C class. Later I will explain everything. Just try to understand. With the help of object, I'm calling M1 method. So this child class can access parent members. Child class can access parent members. So this M1, this C has two parents now, class A and class B. So C can access A class members, C can access B class members. So C object can access A class members as well as B class members. But here A class member, B class member name is same, M1. So with the help of C class object, I'm calling M1. Now it will get confused. That has to call this M1 or that has to call this M1. See here. Okay, this problem is called naming ambiguity. Ambiguity means confusion. So naming ambiguity problem. So this is called naming ambiguity, or just now Curtis said, okay, diamond access problem. So naming ambiguity problem, or you can say diamond access problem. So this is just like looking this as diamond. So that's why you can call this as the diamond access problem. Okay, okay, Curtis, did you understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, very good. So such type of confusion oriented concepts, they didn't add to the Java, and we can say this as the familiar. Familiar means what? Well known. Familiar means what? Well known. So we may feel this Java is well known to us. We may feel this Java is well known to us. Why we feel like that? Because when this Java was introduced in the 1996, so at that time software industry was using C language and C++ language to develop the. So in the 1996 Java language was introduced. So when at the time of introduction of Java, C++ were famous programming languages. At the time of introduction of Java, C++ were famous programming languages. So that's why what JavaSoft people did is, most of the syntaxes, most of the operators, control structures, most of the syntaxes they have taken from C and C++ only. See, in the C language, if you write if control structure like this, if x greater than 0, that is positive. For example, this is one condition, if x greater than 0, it's a condition. Okay, so here we are writing the condition. This is the starting point of if, this is the ending point of if. If x is greater than 0, if x is positive number, I want to execute this sum code. For example, 10 lines code. I'm writing. Okay, so this C here, this syntax, if control structure in the C language, we write if, then condition, starting curly braces, ending curly braces. The C++ also we write if, condition, starting curly braces, ending curly braces. Similarly, in the Java also we write like this only. So the syntaxes of C, C++ are taken in the Java. Okay, so most of the syntaxes they have taken from C++, like control structures, operators. If you know C operators means almost all operators of Java you know. If you know control structures of C language means almost all control structures of Java you know. Okay, so like this we feel well known to us, we feel this language is familiar to us. So that's why we're calling this as the familiar programming language and simple programming language. Okay, so all confusion oriented concepts they removed, they didn't add. Okay, and most of the syntaxes they have taken from C++. So that's why we are calling this as a simple and familiar programming language. Next feature is this Java is the secured programming language. So this topic already just now we covered. Okay, once again also I'm covering. This Java's code is very secured. Java is the secured programming language. Java is secured programming language. So why the secured programming language? You know, see this Java after compilation it is generating after compilation bytecode will be generated. After compilation bytecode after compilation bytecode will be generated. After compilation bytecode will be generated by the compiler. So compiler is generating bytecode. So this bytecode is very secure. This bytecode is very secure. Bytecode is very secure. So this bytecode cannot be infected by the viruses. Okay, this bytecode cannot be infected. Bytecode is very secure. And internally JVM has verifier is there. Internally JVM has verifier. This verifier checks for the errors. Checks for the errors. This verifier checks for the errors. So if that checks for if any viruses are there, if any security problem oriented code is there or not, so that will be checked by the JVM. So JVM has verifier. In the JVM, class loader is there. Class loader subsystem is there. In the class loader subsystem, verifier is there. That verifier checks for the errors. If any problem oriented code is there or not. If any problem oriented code is there, it rejects that code. It will not execute the code. Okay, so bytecode will be checked by the verifier. If bytecode is perfect, then only that executes the Java application. So automatically so much security will be there. So because of this bytecode, okay, this bytecode is very secure. And in the JVM, the class loader subsystem verifier is there that will check for the errors. If any security problem oriented code is there or not, that will check for it. So automatically our application will become more secured. And another important feature is Java does not support to Java does not support to pointers. Java does not support to pointers because due to pointers security problems will occur. So Java does not support pointers explicitly. Implicitly that uses the addresses, but explicitly we cannot use pointers concept. Okay, so automatically it is secured. And friend functions are there in the C++. Friend functions are there and friend classes are there. So generally if the members are private means those are not accessible outside of the class. So this is the class name is A. In the class if any private members are there in the class, this private member is not accessible outside of the class. But if any friend function is there or any friend class is there, they can access these private members. Again problem will occur, security problems will occur due to this friend functions and friend classes, so they removed them. Okay, Java does not support they didn't add these features, friend functions, friend classes, pointers, they didn't add because security problems will occur. Okay, so hence you can say this Java is more secured. Java is a secured programming language. Okay, next. And next feature is it is a distributed programming language. It is a distributed programming language. Okay, now I explain these two, distributed and portable. After that I stop the session. Okay, so within 5 minutes I try to stop the session. Listen. Just a minute. Yes. See here. So what is distributed? In the Java, we can develop distributed applications. So it is a distributed programming language, means in Java, we can develop distributed applications. In Java, we can develop distributed, applications. Okay, so distributed application means the same software will be resided in many locations. If same software is resided, in many locations, then it is called distributed application. If same software is resided in, if same software is installed in many locations, that is called distributed application. So best example, now we are attending the class. Okay, so now to attend this class, we are using which software? Go to training software. We are using which software? Go to training software. So to use this go to training, I installed one app in my system, that is go to training app. So this is go to training app. So in my system, go to training app is there. This is just 20% software only, and remaining 80% software is installed in server. So that 80% software plus this 20% software is becoming 100% software. Now the software is resided in many locations. So like that, many clients, you are using go to training, another person is using go to training, another person is using go to training. So all of us have 20% software only. Remaining 80% software is in the server. So combination of this 80% software and 20% software is becoming 100% software now. Okay, this is example for distributed application. And you are using WhatsApp in your mobile. So to use this WhatsApp, we must install the app. Assume that that is 20% software. We are installing the app, means that is not 100%, 20%. So without the network, I cannot send message to you. You cannot send message to me. We have to communicate to the network. And in the server, remaining 80% software is there. In the server. So that server's 80% software and our mobile's 20% software, this will become 100% software now. So some software is resided in client system, some software resided in server system. Not only two locations, on many locations also this will be resided. Such type of applications are called distributed applications. We can develop such type of distributed applications in the Java. So that's why it is called a distributed programming language. And this Java is a portable means easy to move. The general meaning of portable is easy to move. So easily we can carry the Java programs and we can run on any machine. Easily we can carry the Java programs and we can run on any machine without making any changes to the application. Okay, so because of two features, I already told, platform independent means what? You can run on any operating system and any microprocessor. And next feature is what? Machine independent means you can run on computer on many devices. Okay, like computer, router, set-top boxes. Okay, so on many devices we can run, and on many operating systems and microprocessor you can run. So this portable feature is the result of platform independency plus machine independency. So without making any changes to Java application, without making any changes to Java application, we can run on any machine on any operating system and on any microprocessor without making the changes to our application. So easily you can move and you can run on any machine, on any operating system, on any microprocessor. So this feature is called what? Portable. It is the result of platform independency plus machine independency. See, for the mobiles also, for example, you are using one number. For example, this 98 something so and so, this is your number. Assume that you are Airtel customer. Assume that you are Airtel customer. Okay, you want to become customer of Jio. You want to port your number to the Jio. So without making the change, without changing your number, you want to use the services of Jio. Now you are the customer of Airtel. Assume that you are the customer of Airtel. Without changing your number, you want to use the services of Jio. So you want to convert from Airtel to Jio. You don't want Airtel services. You want Jio services. If you want to become the Jio customer, you are doing what? Port. Without changing your number, you will get this Jio services now. Okay. Similarly, here also, without making any changes to the Java application, you can run on any machine, on any operating system, on any microprocessor. This feature is called portable. So this is a portability feature. So okay, actually I thought to finish this all features, but time is over. So till portable features are over, in the remaining in the next session I will explain the remaining features. So dynamic multi-threaded high performance, so very small features. Okay, so within 10 minutes we finish that one, no problem at all. And on Monday I will explain the differences between other languages and Java. Okay, so what are the differences between C and Java? What are the differences between C++ and Java? So I discussed about that one on Monday. Okay, so tomorrow is a holiday, Sunday is a holiday. Okay, now I'm stopping the session. So very clearly we discussed features today. So today we discussed about robust. It is a strong programming language, Java, because of memory management and exception handling. This Java is a simple and familiar because all confusion oriented concepts they didn't add, and most of the syntaxes they have taken from C++. The secured programming language because they didn't add pointers, friend functions, friend classes. Such type of security problems concept they didn't add to the Java. And this Java's bytecode is secured. In the JVM, verifier is there that checks whether viruses are there in the bytecode or not. So that's why we are calling it is secured. Next one is distributed. The same software can be resided on many locations. That application is called distributed application. Portable means without making any changes to our Java application, we can run on any machine, on any operating system, and on any microprocessor. So these things we discussed. Now I'm stopping the session.
Sir, one doubt.
Yes.
Sir, yesterday we have discussed that in the C++ program, the main will be written before the
Yes.
class.
No,
Sir,
not before, outside of the class. Not before, outside of the class.
Yes, sir. Outside of class. Sir, can you show the difference between these one program for the sample for getting clear understand? Comparison, sir. Java and C++.
Comparison. Okay. I try to see my existing programs. Okay. So it takes some time. Please wait. Okay. If you have no doubts, we can log out. Okay. So Tripathi and Sachin, Tripathi and Curtis, if you don't have any doubts, you can log out. No problem. You can leave the session. Okay. See here. For example, see, let me.
Sir, I have to leave the session. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm new to this browser.
See, let me see. But for example, student class std.cpp. No, std.demo.cpp. Yes. See, observe. Yes, Yashwant. See here. This
Yes,
is the
sir.
class. This is the class. In the class, this rule number name I defined as private. Rule number name or in the private section. So to provide security for
Okay.
the data, rule number and name, I defined them in the private section. Okay.
Okay.
So So maybe this program I changed it. So here access this program will give error because here I'm accessing the values. So to
Okay.
show the
Okay.
errors only, I have written that program to the students. But try to understand. Here we are defining the class, and here we are writing main outside of the class. Generally we write like this. So this student is the class. For the student, this rule number name are the properties. This show is the method. Okay, don't access here. This is wrong. Okay, here we create the object. So this S1 is the object now. So when it executes this code, just a minute. I'm picking the pen. So when it executes the code, so student S1, this is CPP program. So when main means what? Entry point. So main means understand that program execution starts from the main. That is the entry point. That's it. So to understand the entry
sir.
point, we are writing the main. So S1 object will be created. In the S1, rule number is the object, name is the object. So this S1 object will be created. Okay, so S1 dot show means, so here actually we have to define one constructor. So that is not perfect program. So here we initialize the values, and whenever we call this show method, that prints the roll number and name like this. So here this is the class, and we are defining main outside of the class. If you define this main inside of the class, what happens is circular dependency problem will occur. That's why we define outside. So this is a C++ program. Whereas if you observe, I open one Java program. See, let me show. I open one Java program, previous batch Java program. I'm opening now, like same student. See here. Yes, this is the class. The class rule number name properties. This is the constructor. This is the method. So here this is one class we are writing in the Java. Okay, so here we are defining the main. We are defining this main method instead of the class only. Each and every member
Yeah,
we
okay,
define
sir.
instead of the class. I already told. So like this. Okay. Okay, Yashwant.
Yes, sir.
In
Yeah,
the
yes,
in
sir.
the
Yes, sir.
further classes, you will get more clarity whenever we are writing the programs. Next, I explain the structure of Java program. After that, you will get more clarity about it.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Shall I stop the session, Yashwant?
Yeah, yes, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. So tomorrow is holiday. Meet you on Monday.
Okay, sir.